Hey everyone, Simon here for the Modern Awakened Perspective, your map for the path to enlightenment. And I'm back, not feeling 100% still, but I thought there's a lot happening and I need to put out a video for you guys. Um, so much stuff happening that I felt I had to, at least put something out there. Um, as you see, I haven't shaved. I've kind of been feeling pretty sick. Um, my voice probably doesn't even sound the same. So I'm not 100%, but I'll put out at least one video today. The first one I have here is probably going to be a little longer than normal because there's been so much happening, especially related to the shooting in New Zealand. And that's what this first story is going to be about mostly. A lot of different things that tie into this story. So I tried to, rather than do a bunch of individual small stories, to kind of tie them all together here and to give my perspective on that. So basically, I'm going to call on this first story, so much happening. Because there really is. So, as you know, the shooting in New Zealand killed about 49, 50 people, something like that, over the last few days there. This happened, and, it's definitely a sad thing that happened. No one wants to see anyone lose their life. But as usual, from my perspective, I think there's something a little deeper going on beneath the surface that mainstream media definitely won't tell you about. So let me just kind of go through here. There's so many aspects to this, I don't want to miss anything. As I said, the mass shooting's been the big story of the past few days, and as well it should be. But what's really going on here? There's been some reports of multiple shooters at the scene, not just the lone gunman that the mainstream media is reporting on. And that sounds very familiar to me, kind of like the Parkland shooting. And, some of these false flags really have a lot of things in common. So this is another aspect that makes you want to question the reality and why this story is even being talked about the way that it is. Now, as with most of the false flags and mass shootings of the last few years, there's been an immediate call for gun control. And it's almost an immediate step that they take. And this is part of what they call the Hegelian dialectic, I believe, which is problem, reaction, solution. This is how the powers that be basically herd us sheep in the direction they want us to go. They cause the problem and expect the reaction, and then immediately have the solution prepared because they're the ones that cause the problem. So, and ultimately, it's their way of justifying or having us go along with whatever they wanted to achieve in the first place. Now, as far as gun laws go, I want to reference the city of Chicago, which has the strictest gun laws in the United States, but yet also has the highest murder rate in the United States. So you can see that the gun laws don't really help. In fact, they make things worse because the criminals who are intent on causing harm and killing people don't care about the laws. And all this does is take guns out of the people, out of the people's hands, that are law-abiding citizens, and then they're no longer able to protect themselves against the real criminals. You got to think about it. If a thief is going to break into a house, is he going to break into the house that has an alarm or the one that doesn't? The criminals take the path of least resistance. So someone intent on causing harm isn't going to attack someone who can defend themselves with a gun themselves. They're going to go after people who can't. The ones that don't have guns because, the government or whoever's taking them away. So, if you think about it logically, none of that makes any sense. But that's part of a bigger agenda, and that's what my stories are about, to make you wonder and question these things and look deeper into it. Now, an interesting note to this is that in New Zealand they're saying you can get 10 years in prison for having a copy of the video of the attack, and 14 years for sharing the video. Now, what are they so afraid of that getting out there? Is there evidence that proves that this was a staged event? Pretty interesting to me, because of all the evidence that's come out in prior false flags to make people question the validity of these events. And of course, when you dig into those, you can tie a lot of those scenarios together with all the ridiculous aspects of those, which show that they're not that people didn't die, but that this was something staged to prove or to get some sort of agenda pressed forward. Now, the supposed shooter of New Zealand had recently made a trip to Pakistan, and he posted online about the great people in the wonderful country. Yet, a year later, he targeted mosques for this shooting, for this violence. Does that seem strange? A lot of these things just don't add up, as usual. So, next you have a Muslim woman confronting Chelsea Clinton, accusing her of stoking the New Zealand massacre through her criticism of Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar. Now, she's been on the hot seat recently for her anti-Semitic language, and one of her contributors to her campaign is an organization called CAIR, C-A-I-R, which is a known terrorist organization, and its leader recently attacked President Trump, blaming him for the attack on New Zealand. So you see kind of what the agenda is by looking at this from a deeper perspective and seeing the big picture altogether. Now, also related to the story is Judge Jeanine Pirro from Fox News being removed from her spot on TV after she questioned Ilhan Omar and her allegiance to America versus her allegiance to Sharia law and her faith there, the Muslim faith and Sharia law. This was due in part to her wearing the hijab, which is mandatory in Sharia law. Now, it's pretty common sense that the U.S. Constitution and Sharia law are incompatible. So, when she took her oath of office, she didn't place her hand on the Bible, she put her hand on the Quran. So, anyone's faith, that's what America was founded on, is, religious freedom. But when their particular religion and belief calls for world domination and the eradication of others, and it doesn't allow for her beliefs to coincide with the U.S. Constitution, basically. And I don't want to discriminate against anyone, but you have to understand that their agendas are not peaceful. That's what the jihad is all about. Now, not all of them, just the radicals, basically. Now, all the events are coinciding with the plan of the Muslim Brotherhood, who has designs on taking over the world one country at a time from within the governments themselves by infiltrating them. Now, you see in New Zealand, there was a terror threat made against the New Zealand Prime Minister after the attack. Next thing you know, you see the Prime Minister giving a speech wearing a hijab herself. Now, is this part of the plan? Are they trying to manipulate people into conforming with Sharia law? Now, will they use guilt and intimidation, any means, to further their agenda? Oh, it's what they do. So, again, if any of this stuff is interesting to you, there's much more I'm not getting into. I'm not feeling well enough to really dig into and give all the details because this is such a complex situation, but I'm just going over a few basics here so that anyone who's interested can be intrigued and dive a little deeper themselves. Okay. Now, while Trump is doing his best to drain the swamp, especially of those appointed by Obama, those who are part of the Muslim Brotherhood and supporters of them, the organizer of the original Women's March, Linda Sarsour, was in public recently condemning those critical of Ilhan Omar also. Now, Sarsour is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, and her and the Women's March were actually funded by George Soros. Interestingly enough, he is a Hungarian-born Jew who is known for killing Jews himself to rise to power and to wealth. So, and he's behind lots and lots of things. That's what his MO is to divide and conquer, and then keep people separated and distracted, and then take advantage of them financially and get the spoils of the downfall of their country, basically. Now, while all this is happening, all this has been in the news on repeat over and over. It's been constantly shoved down our throat by mainstream media over the last few weeks. It seems 120 Christians were slaughtered by Muslims in Nigeria, and the media doesn't cover that at all. Also, 140 homes or more were burned to the ground. This is simply for being a Christian follower, but yet the media reports on none of this. So you can see they're biased and what agenda the media is trying to push. They push the aspects of the shooting they want that furthers their agenda, and anybody that comes out and anyway against that, such as Judge Janine, gets taken away. Those voices get squashed, and that's similar to what's going on with the social media, where conservative content creators and content is being banned and eliminated. So you can see there's definitely an overall agenda being pushed here, and people need to wake up and understand exactly what's happening so that we can unite and fight against this before it's too late to turn back and to keep it from achieving its goals. So again, this is a longer message than normal, and I know a lot of people probably won't agree with everything I've said, but the comment section is open. Feel free to say whether you agree or disagree with what I'm saying. I'll usually read every single comment and try to respond. So again, that's the story from my perspective. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.